I went blind when I was just 11. It happened 30 years ago, on a day when the world around me plunged into darkness, leaving only the echoes of sounds and the ghostly outlines of memories. I grew up, learned to live anew, adapted to this endless night, until I finally reached a point where I could say I was content with my life. For the first time in years, I felt like I was in control again. Or so I thought, until this cursed week began. It all started on Monday, a day that seemed to conspire against me. I work as a teacher, and that day the kids were unbearable. Their voices cut through me like rusty knives. My boss, usually reserved, lashed out at me with inexplicable venom. Outside, a storm raged. The wind howled as if mourning something long forgotten, and the rain battered the windows with such force that they seemed ready to crack. It was one of those days when you want to crawl into a corner and wait for the world to stop crumbling. When I got home, all I wanted was to shake off that weight and collapse into sleep. I stepped into my little fortress, where every corner was familiar, poured a glass of water, cold, almost icy, and fell into bed. Closing my eyes, I curled up under the blanket, hoping the darkness of sleep would carry me far from that day. But something was wrong. Something lurked in the silence, disrupting the usual order. I lay still, listening to my own breathing, until I realized what was bothering me. The bed. It was warm. Not entirely, just on one side, as if someone had been lying there mere minutes before, leaving behind a faint trace of heat. The blanket held that foreign warmth, like a memory of a presence I couldn't explain. My throat went dry, as if someone had poured a handful of sand into it. I froze, straining my ears to their limit. The silence pressed against me, but there was nothing. No rustle, no creak of the floorboards. Finally, I convinced myself it was just my imagination, a trick of exhaustion and nerves. With trembling hands, I finished the water, lay back down, and forced my eyes shut, coaxing myself to sleep. The next day, work drained the last of my strength, and I returned home with a single desire: to shut out everything. I collapsed onto the couch and turned on the TV. Yes, blind people do that too. Modern technology turns images into words. A robotic voice describes the scenes, like it's reading a movie script. It annoyed me at first, but now I'm used to it. It's better than sitting in the tomb-like silence where every sound feels like a threat. I was barely listening to the TV, lost in my thoughts, when I noticed it. Warmth. It came from my right, soft but persistent, as if someone were breathing on my shoulder. I froze, trying to pinpoint the source. After a minute, it hit me. It was the lamp on the table next to the couch. Its heat seeped through my shirt, making my skin itch. I never turn on the lights. Why would I? The lamps in my house are mere decorations, relics of the past. Sure, I have bulbs in the sockets, but they gather dust unused. Friends might flick them on when they visit, but the last time anyone was here was over a month ago. If that lamp had been on all this time, I'd have noticed the heat sooner. I sit here almost every day, and never has this happened before. My fingers reached for the switch on their own. Click, and the warmth began to fade, but the feeling of someone else's presence lingered. I pushed the lamp farther away, as if that could banish whatever had turned it on. I played another episode of the show, trying to distract myself, then warmed up dinner in the microwave. The smell of hot food briefly restored a sense of comfort. Afterward, I decided to head to bed, hoping the night would erase this strange day. I stepped out of the kitchen, counted my usual 4 steps down the hallway, and turned to enter my bedroom. Bam! My face slammed into something solid. Pain shot through my nose, and I nearly cried out. The closed door to my bedroom. My heart pounded as if it wanted to break free from my chest. I never close doors. Never. I'm blind. I live alone. And I don't need extra obstacles. The doors in my house are always open. It's a rule. My way of keeping control in a world where I can't see the edges. Someone was here. Someone had walked through my home, touched my things, closed my doors. Fear, cold and sticky, gripped my throat. I hadn't felt this helpless since that day 30 years ago when I woke up in a hospital ward, surrounded by the smell of sterility and the sound of unfamiliar voices, knowing the light was gone from my life forever. My hands shook as I reached into my pocket for my phone to call the police. My sweaty fingers fumbled and the phone slipped, hitting the carpet with a dull thud. I heard it strike the baseboard right at my feet. Dropping to my knees, I started groping the floor, running my hands over the soft pile. 5 seconds. 10. Nothing. The phone had vanished into thin air. It couldn't have bounced far. The hallway's narrow, just a few feet to the walls. But it was gone. My breathing faltered, a ringing filled my ears. I widened my search, crawling forward, stretching my arms out like a blind spider clinging to its web. The carpet rustled under my palms, but the phone eluded me. Tears burned my eyes, not from pain, but from terror. I stopped, forced myself to take a deeper breath, wiped my face with my sleeve, and started again. The space was tiny. In front of me was the laundry room door, to my left, the guest bedroom door. Nowhere to hide, nowhere for it to roll. And then, the tip of my finger brushed something solid. I froze, my heart skipping a beat. The phone? Trembling, I crawled closer, reaching down to where I'd felt the object. Emptiness. Nothing. Through the haze of panic, I crawled a little farther, reached again. Nothing. The floor was bare, as if someone had swept away all traces. I moved forward again, and this time my right hand bumped into something large. Too large to be a phone. Cautiously, I ran my palm over its surface. It was cold, dry with a faint roughness, almost like skin, but lifeless, devoid of warmth. I realized what it was when it moved. My fingers gripped someone's leg, cold, unyielding, but alive. It twitched under my hand, and I heard a sound, a quiet, barely audible exhale, as if someone had been holding their breath too long. I recoiled, slamming my back against the wall. My mind spun in a whirlwind of thoughts. Who was this? How did they get in? And why were they silent? The quiet was worse than a scream. It pressed down, filling the hallway with an invisible presence. I tried to stand, but my legs buckled, and I collapsed back onto the carpet. Who's there? I croaked, my voice trembling like a child's. No answer. Just silence, and a faint creak of a floorboard somewhere deeper in the house. I crawled backward toward the living room, clutching the walls to keep my balance. Every sound, the creak, the rustle, even my own breathing, felt alien. Reaching the couch, I grabbed the remote and turned off the TV. The silence became absolute, but now I knew it was lying. Someone was near. Someone was watching. A minute passed, or an hour. Time dissolved in that darkness. I sat clutching a pillow, listening, and then I heard it. Footsteps. Slow, cautious, as if someone were trying not to give themselves away. They came from the bedroom, the very one whose door had been closed. Heavy yet soft, like bare feet touching the floor with eerie confidence. I stopped breathing. The footsteps grew closer, louder, clearer. They stopped at the threshold of the living room. I knew it because I felt the cold radiating from there, as if someone had brought a draft from another world. "Please, say something," I whispered, but my voice broke into a rasp. And then I heard it. Not words, not a scream, a quiet, low laugh, barely audible but so cold it froze the blood in my veins. It lasted just a second. Then the footsteps began to retreat, fading into the depths of the house. I don't know how long I sat there, gripping the pillow until I finally stood. The phone never turned up. I called the police from a spare device I kept in a desk drawer. They came, searched the house, but found nothing. No signs of a break-in, no fingerprints, no warm bed. Only the lamp, which I'd turned off, was burning again when they arrived. They left, leaving me alone. But I know I'm not alone. Something stayed here. Something that walks through my house, touches my things, watches me from the darkness I can't see. And every night, as I fall asleep, I feel that warmth beside me, as if it's waiting for me to close my eyes.